So we all know that most of the potential of the EOS M is unlocked when we download Magic Lantern on this thing. But I thought I'll try out what the 18 megapixels of this camera can do on its own and see the results of it. I recently got these Air Max Nikes. Let's take some product photographs to see how does the EOS M perform. Though it has a tiny 18 megapixel sensor, 18 megapixel APS-C sensor, but for 2012 when this camera was launched, it is pretty great. Also, before we start, the dial on the top of this camera is pretty great. I like it. It is similar to the A7 IV that's just been released in 2021. It has a photo mode, a video mode, and instead of the S&Q mode that the A7 IV has, it has a auto mode. So while I was taking pictures of the Nikes, I was taking that with the kit lens, which is the 15 to 45 mm lens, which comes nowadays with the M50 Mark II if you buy it right now, or it's one of those kit lenses which is inexpensive, and I had that with my M3 that I'm recording on right now. So in the studio, the camera performed well. The EOS M had pretty great detail. I did not have any problems pulling focus, although most of the shots I shot in autofocus. I did not play around with manual focus because I genuinely do not use manual anytime. Having an APS-C sensor is good in controlled environments, such as in the studio when I was controlling the lights and I knew where to put what, and I did not have any fluctuations or change in the light. Then the shots were pretty great and I did not have any problems. I was able to work with a low shutter count in the studio. Focus was good, the detail was good, sharpness was good. So when I took the camera outside, it was a very different story. It did not perform that well outside as it was doing inside. Without an ND filter, it's very hard to take any photos or videos outside. Like the base ISO count is 100 in this, and I had to crank up the shutter to like I think I was going to 500, 250, and then I was getting proper images. But looking back on these images, the images outside that I took were not as good as I think they could have been, or like something like my 70D would have taken much better pictures. So let's see. Outside, the details were okay, decent, but they weren't 100%. I had trouble pulling focus. I would use the screen to point somewhere to pull focus there, and it would somehow lose focus. I have no clue why, but it would do that, and it only did that outside and not inside here. Overall, maintaining the exposure or the brightness in the photos would have been much better if I had an ND filter attached to the lens. And this was just off the cuff testing that I was doing, so you cannot even complain about a camera which was launched in 2012. So if we just take the time frame in consideration and then give some remarks about the camera, then this camera performed very well. Although this camera is now almost 10 years old, released in 2012, but the Canon colors are still there in the EOS M. So when you compare it to something like the M50 or like the 70D that I have, the color in the pictures look remarkably similar. So the Canon color thing is there in the EOS M. So if you want to take a quick photo for like your social media or something like that, this would work great. What I usually do is I take pictures from this and then I dump them in my Mac, and then I transfer it to my phone, and then I use Snapseed to edit them and then upload them on my social media. That's my process. I've also ordered a Viltrox adapter for this EOS M, so I can adapt EFS and EF lenses to the EOS M. So I'll be making that video in the future, so stay tuned for that. So that's about it. This is a decent pocket camera that you can carry around with a small lens like the 15 to 45, which you can use with both video and decent enough performance for photos also. But if the question is whether or not you should be buying this camera if you're just shooting photos and not using this for raw or magic lantern, then the answer is definitely a no, because you should definitely go for something which has been released in 2021 or which is going to be released in 2022. Plenty of great options in the second-hand market from Sony as well as Canon. I'm sure Sony is going to release like a ton more cameras in 2022 if you can afford to wait for something. I think this is the last video for 2021, and I'll be seeing you all again in 2022. So if you're not already, get subscribed, like this video, and stay tuned for a lot more great projects and possibly another channel in 2022. I'll see you again the next time.